Hey everybody, this is Kevin Davidson, your host for Kevin's Corner, real estate from a marketing perspective, and this is episode number 23 of my podcast. I'm very excited. I've been going on for probably 5 months now, once every week, so another episode is going to be in the books in about 45 minutes. I always start off the podcast by thanking my support staff, which is Jennifer Smitis, the Area Vice President of Houston, and Caitlin Kornick, Devaney Devon, and Wendy Santana, the escrow officers for both Sugar Land and Richmond. And again, if you're an agent and you're watching this podcast and you need a good escrow officer, a good title company, obviously you need to be using Stewart Title. The other thing that I'd like to say is if you want to be a guest on the podcast, give me a call, 832-654-0527, or email me at kevin.davidson@stewart.com. With that being said, we're going to get started with this episode number 23. A lot of you guys might know this young lady sitting next to me. This is Cindy Pham. Say hi, Cindy.
Hi, everybody. Cindy Pham with Asset Preservation, and thank you for having me. Just happy to be here.
No, this won't be the first time you'll be on, I promise. I'll hit you up for next year. Cindy actually works for Stewart Title, correct? And she teaches a lot of her classes for me. She's involved in the office, and we get to see each other once every quarter. So tell everybody what you do.
Okay. So Asset Preservation actually is Stewart Title's qualified intermediary. So we are Asset Preservation. We started as a qualified intermediary in 1990, and then 1993, Stewart Title bought our company. So we're a wholly owned subsidiary of Stewart Title. So a 1031 exchange qualified intermediary, it is for it's an internal revenue code, section 1031. This tax code allows an investor to defer capital gain taxes when they sell an investment property and buy a different. So you're essentially trading an investment property from one property to another. And in order to do that, you have to use a qualified intermediary to facilitate that, to hold the funds in between selling the property and buying the next, and that's what we do.
Okay.
Correct.
So for people that may not understand a lot of what you just said, capital gains tax. What is that?
Correct. So basically, it's when your property appreciates just sitting there. So you have owned your investment property for a while, and then over time you've kept it as a rental. But when you sell it, you've got the gain on that. So let's say you bought the property years ago for $200,000, and now you're selling it for $500,000. So your gain is roughly about $300,000. So that's your profit. Okay, so now you're selling that, and so you're going to pay taxes on the capital gain taxes.
The $300,000.
Correct, taxes on the $300,000.
So why is it that when you do a 1031 exchange and you exchange one property for another, that you're able to defer that tax?
So the tax code started off back then when, in 1921. This tax code's been around for over 100 years, and it started off us trading properties. So you had your property, your farmland, I had my farmland. We swapped properties. There was no money involved. So the IRS came back and said, "Hey, Kevin, I want tax dollars." And you said, "Uncle Sam, IRS, we just swapped properties. There's no money involved, so therefore there's no tax dollars to give you." Now, eventually, as the tax code evolved, you said, "Hey, Uncle Sam, IRS, I want to sell my property to Cindy, but I actually don't want Cindy's property. I want to buy someone else's property. And that property is actually even costs more. I can do more. I can expand more. I can, do all that." And so the IRS said, "Okay, you can sell to Cindy and buy from someone else, as long as you don't touch the money." So back then when we swapped money, swapped properties, there was no money involved.
Right.
So essentially now you can sell to me and buy from another person. You can't touch the money in between as well.
So when you say you can't touch the money, where does the money go?
So the qualified intermediary is required to hold the funds. So that's where we step in. So as you're selling the property, before you close, we actually step in as your intermediary, and we basically intercept and we hold the funds in between you selling this property. And there's a whole process. So, we'll have an exchange agreement, and we work directly with Stewart Title or the closing company, we receive the proceeds. Then you'll have 45 days to identify what you're going to buy, and a total of 180 days to close on your replacement property.
180 days. That's, if my math is correct, 6 months. About.
There are months that are 30 days.
It's
31 days, so it's
right.
180 calendar days.
Okay. If you take up to the 45 days to identify the next property that you're going to purchase, is that 45 taken away from the 180?
The 45 days is inclusive of the 180 days.
Okay, so, all right. And then what happens if you don't meet either one of those two deadlines?
Well, eventually you get your money back and just pay your capital gain taxes. There's no penalties for not completing your 1031 exchange.
Okay.
So this is kind of like an opportunity for you not to pay your taxes. So I always like to tell people, why do you want to do a 1031 exchange, right? So this is non-recognition treatment. So basically, when you've got investment property, so it's technically like-kind exchange. This is also called a like-kind exchange. This is non-recognition treatment from the IRS. So when you have a property of a trader or a business or your investment property, this contributes to your economy, okay? Now, if you sell that property and you keep the money to yourself, so the IRS wants to tax you on your capital gains. But instead of keeping that money, you're going to reinvest into a different investment property that essentially recontributes to your economy. So of course, your realtor, your agents, your title company, your appraiser, your handyman, your make-ready contractors. It goes down to even like the Sherwin-Williams, the Home Depot. So it contributes to the economy. So the IRS doesn't recognize the gain, since you're not keeping that money, and that money is contributing to your to the economy. The IRS is not going to tax you. They're going to let you defer those taxes.
So it's kind of like when you're doing this, you're helping the economy. You're helping all kinds of other people.
Yeah. So you're contributing. Yeah. So at the end of the day, IRS uses tax codes to drive economy, to help our economy, and so this is, they use the tax laws as the vehicle to drive that, to steer it.
So how many 1031 exchange swaps can you do?
You swap until you drop.
She started to smile when she said that to us.
Because essentially you can do a 1031 exchange and sell property A and buy into property B. Okay. When you sell property B, you can 1031 exchange to property C and so on. Okay. And so the IRS, this is a tax deferral, not a tax exemption or tax relief. So if you 1031 exchange to property A to B, from B to C, and if you sell C, the IRS wants tax dollars for the capital gains for A, B, and C, right? And so now, if you pass away along the lines, your heirs inherit the property, or your taxes go away. So essentially, why do you want to do 1031 exchange? One, who wants to pay for taxes, right? Two, you have more buying power, because instead of, let's say we had the gain, we bought for 200, we sold for 500, your gain is, 300,000. Instead of paying taxes on that 300,000, that tax dollars rolls into the next property, right?
So instead of having 230,000 on the 300, you have the full 300,000 to use, because it's
the
not
full
taxed.
but you're trading a property of 500,000. So after you pay taxes from the sale of 500,000, so let's say you've got roughly around 520, 530 to, 420, 430 to reinvest. You've got a full 500 to reinvest for a full tax deferral. Okay. And then, so you've got more buying power. You don't want to pay taxes. You've got more buying power, and also it's an estate planning too. Because you keep on swapping until you drop, because once you pass away, all the taxes go away. Your heirs don't inherit the capital gains.
Oh wow! Okay.
When you pass away.
So what happens to them? The capital gains. If they inherit the property but not the taxes.
My analogy is that Uncle Sam's in love with you and he follows you from property to property, and once you pass away, he's so sad he goes away. He just
really?
Goes away. Yeah. So he's not in love with your children.
I did not know there was any way that Uncle Sam would go away.
That's why you swap until you drop.
You swap until you drop. Wow. Okay.
Uncle Sam's so sad. He goes away. He disappears, and the capital gains are gone.
That's interesting. And based on the terminology you've been using, because I was in property management for 7 years, so this is not a concept that's new to me. But until I met you, I never really understood it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is for real estate investors, right?
Correct.
I couldn't do this with my home that I live in.
No. So what does not qualify is the home that you live in. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the home that you live in, if you lived in it for more than 2 years, you have a homeowner's exemption on it already anyway, right?
What does that mean?
So if you own your home, that you've lived in your home for more than 2 years, and if you're married, you're exempt up to $500,000 of capital gain taxes, right? $250 if you're single. So you have a homeowner's exemption already if you own your home that you live in. Okay, so you cannot double dip the IRS.
Right. Wow, very interesting. And
you can't flip property, so it can't be the home that you're living in. Your intent has to be buy and hold as an investment property. You cannot. It doesn't qualify for your home. It doesn't qualify for your second home. It doesn't qualify for flip property, because when you're flipping property, your intent is to buy the property, fix it to sell. So your intent is to sell, not to hold for investment.
Right.
And also for builders, if you buy, build, and sell, that does not qualify either. It's got to be a buy and hold as an investment property.
You got to want to rent it out.
Yeah.
And then we were having a conversation just before we did the podcast with one of my realtor friends. The property has to be in the United States, right?
Correct. So it's a federal tax code. The property can be anywhere in the U.S.
And the property you're buying needs to be
anywhere in the U.S. So you cannot sell in Texas and buy in Cabo. That's a no-go there.
Man, that just blew my whole plan. Now I got to start over. Awesome. How long have you been doing this and working for Stewart Title?
Just over 5 years.
Wow. And have you been dealing with 1031 for your whole career, or what did you do before this?
I was a commercial retail broker.
Really?
Yeah. So I was a leasing broker for the investment sales team. So I've been in real estate since 2001.
Wow, 2001. What was I doing in 2001? That was
over 20-something years.
Yeah. Wow. Matter of fact, okay, 2001. I had just recently graduated from University of Houston. So I graduated from University of Houston in June of 2000. So I had just started my career.
Yeah.
And then you also you teach 1031 for me and for a lot of other Stewart Title offices. Tell everybody about that.
So I do teach CE. So the biggest mistake on a 1031 exchange is when clients call me and they've already closed on their investment property, and then it's too late to do a 1031 exchange. And so the first person they blame on is the realtors.
Of course. You should have known.
You should have known. Like, what, they expect your realtor to know everything, and if they knew that, they get really upset once they've closed and they realize how much taxes they're going to have to pay. And so I teach CE classes to realtors and brokers to educate them on the 1031 exchanges. So I'll do a 1 hour class, and I'll also do a 2 hour class. But I can also go on forever, like even 3 hours. There's a lot to it, because you've got your realtor, your single family. You've got your more complicated exchanges where the commercial ones kind of get into a lot too, and then you've got.
So you can do this with commercial property as well?
Absolutely, as long as it's investment property. So you can exchange from land to a rent house to a building, farmland. I mean, and you can also do multiple properties too. So you can sell one property and buy multiple. Like, let's say you have a piece of land, you can sell that and buy 3 or 4 rent houses. Right, wow. That works. And so once you've accumulated, 3 or 4 rent houses, you want to expand to multi-family or an apartment building, that's fine. So you're selling 3 or 4 properties to buy one. So you can definitely do that as well. We also do reverse exchanges and improvement exchanges too. So the reverse exchange is when you're buying the replacement property first, and then you're selling your relinquished property, and then the improvement exchange is where you're buying the land and then building the building. So those actually are a little bit more complicated exchanges. So we do them more on a
But
property.
it sounds like if you're a real estate investor, you have several options.
Yeah. So those type of exchanges are more complicated. It's going to be on property with a lot of gain or commercial property.
And your program, your message really resonates with real estate agents that work with real estate investors.
Correct.
So if you're a real estate agent out there, in my opinion, and you don't work with real estate investors, I really believe you should. My 7 years in property management, they're a different animal. You can't treat a real estate investor like you did or you do Mr. and Mrs. Cindy Pham buying their dream home. They just don't have the same wants and needs. And once you learn the difference, if you find a good real estate investor that's buying a property every 2 or 3 months, they can make your career if you do it right. But this is a good option to plug into if you're an agent for your business model.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everybody how to get a hold of you? And at the same time, if a real estate agent approaches you and is curious about this, how would you handle that conversation? What would you tell them?
Well, I usually will qualify them as far as asking about the property. Is this an investment property? How long have they owned it? And then explain the process of the exchange, the timeline, and the process on how we get involved with the exchange agreement, and then working directly with the title company and what happens after, where you're getting, how you identify your replacement property, and what needs to happen.
So you're gonna, if you're a real estate agent, you can actually come to Cindy and ask her a question, and she'll give you all the answers.
All day long.
Everything
all
you need to
long.
know about this. So don't be scared of 1031.
I'm happy. I'll give you my cell phone number. Everybody is welcome to call me on my cell phone, text me, or email me. My cell phone number is 281-923-4269. That's 281-923-4269. I can be reached at cindy@apiexchange.com. So it's cindy@apiexchange.com. Apple Paul information and the word exchange.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast
today.
Thank
you so much.
This was I actually did a little bit of homework before you got here because I wanted to be able to at least try and talk about this professionally. So it's a very good topic. It's a very good, like I said, if you're an agent and you have heard about this or you don't know about this and you want to learn more, call Cindy. She's a great resource, and she's helped me and my agents ever since I started working for Stewart Title. So thank you.
And if everybody is free, come to one of my classes that Kevin has. I think generally people enjoy the classes. It's a capital gains tax class, but I promise you it's not that boring.
No, it's not boring. It's a numbers thing, and it's educational, but it's not boring. So plus you get credit for it, right?
Yeah.
CE credit.
Complimentary credit.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have Mr. Neal from the University of Houston Sugar Land and the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce up next. Thanks, guys. Say bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. This is Kevin. I'm back with Kevin's Corner Real Estate from a Marketing Perspective, and this is episode number 23, section number 2. And I don't know if you guys know who this gentleman is right now, but I met him when I went through the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce Leadership Program. This is Mr. Neal. He also works for the University of Houston at the Sugar Land location. Yep. Say hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So tell everybody what your real title is and what you really do.
I am the Associate Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for our instructional sites in both Sugar Land and Katy. University of Houston now has close to over 47,000 students, and looking at where our students are coming from, similar to our healthcare industries in the Texas Medical Center, they're building more hospitals out in Sugar Land, Katy area, and we find there's a lot of families here, a lot of great students. So let's bring Tier 1 education to where students
Sugar
are.
Land, yeah.
So it's been great.
It's kind of like what they decided to do back in the day, or whenever they decided to do it, when they built the Clear Lake branch, which is where I went and graduated from.
Very, very similar. Again, just kind of that's a really great analogy because, when Clear Lake was started, that was a direct response to NASA, and they needed a pipeline of engineers coming in, and it was an industry response. So similar to Sugar Land, the Chamber of the Economic Development Councils, the local government said, we want higher education 4-year programs for our students and for our businesses, and just kind of looked at what the job opportunities and the businesses need out here.
Right.
And that's kind of that kind of dictates. We have every major that any student could ever want. If you're going to be in Sugar Land and Katy, though, it's going to be tied to industry. It's going to be tied to the businesses that are here.
So speaking of, because that was going to be my next question, what are some of the major educational directions you can go if you go to Sugar Land?
So if you look at who our biggest employers are out here, it's healthcare industries, it's our school districts, and then it's our tech companies. So our College of Nursing is housed in Sugar Land. Nursing is a little bit of everywhere. So they've got a presence in Sugar Land, they have a presence in Katy, and they also have a presence in main campus. For our Sugar Land campus, we have our second degree BSN. It's this is an award-winning program, very intense, but for students that already have a bachelor's degree that want to go into nursing, this is their route, and they can get a second degree in a year.
Wow.
Also, College of Education has a strong presence out here, both for K through 12, for teachers, people that want to become teachers, but also we have our superintendent program here. So those that are looking to go into their career, become a principal and then go on to become a superintendent, we also have those programs here. And then the lion's share of our programming, though, is through the Division of Technology, which was also formerly known as the College of Technology. Looking at some of our long-term goals is to be a top 50 public university. We're getting very close. We're in the top 60s now. That just came out last week. So,
nice. Congratulations.
that's a huge deal. The only problem with this is as we get closer to 50, the competition is going to get steeper and steeper.
Of course.
But,
I always like that.
In looking at that, looking at benchmarking what top engineering programs are doing, there's been a move to merge technology and engineering programs together. So we've started making that move about a year ago. And so the Division of Technology will be within the College of Engineering here in Sugar Land. That helps me a lot when I talk to families who are coming out here. When you look at the programs in technology, they're great programs. So, construction management, supply chain, digital media, biotechnology. There's a lot of great jobs tied to these. But when I talk to parents, they're like, I don't know what that is. Can my kid get a job? And then when I come back and say, well, it's in the College of Engineering. Oh, engineering, I know what that is. This is a great career path for our kids.
Yeah.
So that's it. And really with that, the programs that the Division of Technology offers really, in my mind, offers programming from conception, like engineering, traditional engineering, of creating something, but then can also help those students take it to market. So there's some business aspects to it as well. Mm-hmm. So it we get more bang for our buck out here with the Division of Technology.
Can you get a business degree up in Sugar Land?
You can start your business degree in Sugar Land, and I'm very proud of this. About 29% of Bauer College of Business is from Fort Bend County. Okay. So we're easing into that. The way our business school works, you have your freshman and sophomore, your gen ed core classes. You'll be a business major, so the business students take 30 hours of general business, and then their senior year, they'll take whatever their major is, so finance, real estate, whatever. We offer the junior year here, and ideally we're going to have cohorts we'll have concentrations to be able to provide those senior classes in time.
So when I went to Clear Lake was not a 4-year school. It was only a junior and senior level school. I don't know if that's changed. I know they got a mascot and everything.
They have mascot. They also have downward expansion, so they offer all 4 years there.
Oh, they do now?
Yeah, they do.
So when I went to Clear Lake, I went through San Jack South first and then transferred in.
We do very similar here in Sugar Land.
Okay.
So we partner with Wharton County Junior College.
Okay.
Wharton leases 70% of our Brazos Hall building. Now, students can continue to it's so different now post-pandemic. So students, if you live in Fort Bend County and you want to save thousands of dollars, you go to WCJC at the Sugar Land campus, you get your core, you can transfer over into Division of Technology, and you could stay in Sugar Land the entire time. And ideally, work, live, play, stay here. Some students still want to be at the main campus. They want that dorm life. But also we can offer what we call multimodal delivery systems, where a student could be in Sugar Land, they took a digital media class, but they've got English at the next class. They can log into their computer, and it's online, but it's in real time. So the professor may be at the main campus. They can ask questions. They can interact with the professor, but they're sitting in the student lounge.
Kind of like a Zoom kind of
Very
thing?
similar.
Okay.
The technology's gotten a lot better, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you'd like to tell the audience for the future for University of Houston Sugar Land?
So
'cause I know when we went through the chamber leadership thing, when we went to you had a lot to say. So
there's a lot going on out here. So
Mm-hmm.
right now we're at about 3,700 students.
Mm-hmm.
My charge from President Couture is to grow the campus to 10,000 students.
wow.
And thankfully, she's never given me an end date. It's sooner rather than later, but it's not like I have to do it by tomorrow. But
That's good.
but
pressure, no
yeah,
pressure.
Seriously. But we are growing, and we want to create value for students. We want to make it that the students want to be there and have a destination campus. So we're actually breaking ground on our 4th building next week. And it's the second division of technology building. We got funded through the state legislature in the 2021 session. So we've been in design phase now. This is going to be a beautiful 70,000 square foot building with a lot of teaching labs and more research labs in there. Hopefully we won't get designed out, but there'll be a sky bridge between the two buildings, and it really starts to frame the campus quite a bit. And again, just looking at what other programs make sense. One of my other big projects, and it's always takes longer than what you think it is, but
of course,
the university has 40 acres of industry partnership zone, basically between the technology buildings and the Sugar Land water tower. And so we're looking for the right industry partner. There's some educational components that are tied to the land use there. It has to have a strong academic relationship with our existing programs. Are they, quantifying, offering internships? Are they doing research with our faculty? Are they doing shared IP? What does that look like? It's a true partnership. Are we providing continuing education for those companies? But really building that piece out next.
Is there a way for local companies like the one that I work for to get involved with the University of Houston?
So I'm going to give you the University of Houston motto: in time.
We'll get
there.
That's good. Okay. Stewart Title loves giving back, so that's why I was just asking. So, and I represent Sugar Land and Richmond right here. You're in between both offices, so that's really cool. How is Sugar Land, University of Houston Sugar Land, connected to the other campuses? Because there's also, I live in Pearland. There's also a University of Houston Pearland too. Now it's only one building, but it's there. So how are you guys all connected?
Okay, so this is going to take a minute. So we
have 3 more.
I know, so I got to make sure we make it count. So
the
University of Houston is a system. So the University of Houston system. Within the system, there are 4 universities. You have University of Houston main campus, University of Houston Clear Lake, University of Houston downtown, and University of Houston Victoria. These are all separate universities, separate presidents, separate mascots, but they're all under the umbrella of the system, right? So main campus, Clear Lake, I think downtown has started offering graduate degrees. Victoria also, I think, has MBA, I knew they have a really good MBA program. These system campuses, and this is the confusing part, is when you have a university that's named after a city and you keep adding the location to the city, it gets a little ridiculous. So, the University of Houston dash Clear Lake, University of Houston dash downtown, that indicates, or without a dash, indicates that it's a separate university.
Okay.
The 2 little letters that separate us, the at, tells me that's an instructional site. So when you look at the University of Houston Clear Lake at Pearland, that's Clear Lake's instructional site.
And what is an instructional site?
It's a location where they can offer programs to that community.
Okay.
So Sugar Land, University of Houston at Sugar Land, University of Houston at Katy are extensions of the main campus. It's Tier 1, Cougar Red Friday.
It's kind of like
there.
It's kind of like adding a satellite office for the same.
Exactly. The way I describe it is it's one campus, 2 zip codes.
Okay.
When you're in Sugar Land, on the Sugar Land campus, you're at the main campus.
Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit real quick. You're also a major component of and part of the Fort Bend County Chamber of Commerce.
Major components, that's a stretch. So My dear friend Bria Campbell and I are division chairs for the leadership forum for the chamber, and so
that's major.
That's
major.
It's just something fun, and it's a great opportunity to meet so many cool people that you may or may not ever meet. Your neighbors, but you've never met this person before.
I said that very thing at my graduation speech.
Yeah.
So which I think everybody was like, we've never seen this guy for 12 months, and it's a completely different guy.
He's feeling good.
So tell everybody real quick what the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce is and how they can get involved.
So Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce is one of our 5-star chambers here in the region. It's actually very close to our location right here now. But it's an organization for our business community to really partner with each other, to do continuing education, to grow their businesses, to grow their networks, and to contribute to our community. And that's the piece that I really like. I mean, these are some really strong community-focused neighbors and friends and business leaders. The Leadership Forum has been around for many years now. This will be my second year I'm in now, helping coordinate with Bria. And basically the Leadership Forum is a 10-month course or activities where we bring business leaders, about 50 business leaders around the community to learn about, understanding differences and healthcare and education and our nonprofit organizations and how our state legislation works, how our federal government works.
The criminal
justice, yeah. So we can go visit the jails.
Even threw a day in there for religious differences and stuff. So I went through the program and just graduated a few months ago, and despite some of my challenges that I had with medical issues, it was fun. It was great. I learned a lot. I mean, when I was, my 2 favorite ones were when we went to Austin and we went to D.C. because I'd never been in the House chamber on the floor, and I just thought that was really cool. And then the other thing is when you're at the Capitol, whether it be in Austin or in D.C., there is nothing more beautiful than the architecture in those buildings. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing that they could do that. And, so I got a lot out of it, and I really, really had a good time and had a lot of fun. If someone wants to get involved with the Fort Bend Chamber, or they want to talk to you about University of Houston Sugar Land,
sure.
How do they get a hold of you?
So the best way for the chamber is to go to the chamber website and look under. There's a link for Leadership Forum. We'll start taking applications right after graduation. So May, we'll start looking for applicants, and we usually take about 50. Push close to 60. It gets a little tight, but
now correct me if I'm wrong, but last event I went to, which was the first event, it's
the kickoff / reunion.
Reunion, yeah. My class that I was in is still the
right now. That's the reigning champ. I think it was 57.
57, and we graduated 54.
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
And we were the best class ever.
For now, yeah. That's the standing joke. Is every year is the best class ever. Yeah. But right now, I would have to say so.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No. I would say that the new class that started, we will do infrastructure next week. They would claim that they're the best class ever. They are starting to get a reputation of being on time and being prompt. So that's a nice change compared to other classes. But when you're herding 57 people around, it's hard to find it. In terms of for the University of Houston, we'd love to show students and the business community, anybody that's watching, if you have school-age children or you're interested in going back to school, please reach out to us. The best to start with is the U of H at Sugarland website, and then the links are all there for contact, scheduling a tour, and again reaching
financial
out to me.
aid.
I'm there. Financial, all of that's there. We actually have, depending on what program you want, we have financial aid counselors there. We have academic counselors. They can talk to folks and just kind of get them on board. And
awesome.
I talk to a lot of families with their kids of getting them, transitioning from high school to college. So
right. Well, it's a big step. I mean, it's a huge step. I didn't go to college right out of high school. I went back. I was considered a non-traditional returning student. I went back when I was 25 and graduated when I was 30, and
But you had good grades.
I had a
and you paid
blast.
for yourself, and
Good grades. I paid for myself. I started in remedial courses, so
Yeah.
it's been a year with no credit.
Yeah.
But when I finally got through San Jack, it took me 3 years to get out of San Jack. It took me a year and a half to get out of U of H.
That's fantastic, though.
So, yeah, I got it.
I know,
So,
you got your ring. That's awesome.
yeah,
It's
so
transformational.
very proud of it.
That's great.
So, give them contact information one more time.
Sure. So really, just University of Houston at sugarland.com is about www.uh at sugarland.uh.edu is the best way to get a hold of us.
Okay. I want to thank you, Jay,
Thank
for
you.
being
This
on
is
the
a
podcast.
great opportunity.
Yes.
So.
And Cindy, Pham, for being the first guest on the podcast. This is episode number 23 of Kevin's Corner, Real Estate from a Marketing Perspective. Again, I want to thank Jennifer Smitis, Caitlin Cornick, Devin E. Devin, and Wendy Santana. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, give me a call, 832-654-0527, or reach out to me via email, kevin.davidson@stewart.com. I'll get you on the calendar. I'm booked through the rest of the year, but we'll get you on for next year. You guys, if you have any questions about title, give us a call. I have great title ladies here. They all got lots of years experience. If you want to talk to anybody at the University of Houston, Sugar Land, or the Fort Bend Chamber, reach out to Neal or Jay. And if you want to talk about 1031 exchange, reach out to Cindy. You guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.